past month or two, what
Yeah,
has been like maybe the biggest development since we spoke
yeah,
last?
definitely. So the biggest development, one of the biggest developments, there's probably two to talk about. One is the first reparations report. So that was released in early June, right? So as soon as the summer started, and it's a long report. It's like 490, 500 pages. So we've spent the last month, 2 months almost, going through the report chapter by chapter, line by line, and actually reading what's in there, figuring out what's in there means for us. The first report is a documentation of all of the information that the California Reparations Task Force learned and gained and gathered over the first year of its work. So for some background, the California Reparations Task Force, which came into law in 2020 and started meeting in 2021, has 2 years by law from the date that it first started meeting to actually finish its job. And that 2 years clock started on June 1st of 2021. So they have until June 1st or June 1st of 2023 to finish their work. And they broke down their work, their 2 years, into two different phases, basically. The first phase is what you might call the investigation or the documentation phase. They had a bunch of public hearings. They heard from people in the community. They heard from experts. They heard from witnesses. They heard from the other task force members themselves. And they heard from different government agencies, different organizations. And the first report that was released over the past month is documentation or a summary of all that they learned in the first year of the commission's work. So in the past month, we've been spending time going through the report, learning a lot, learning a whole bunch of things. I got a bunch of stuff I could talk about that I didn't know. And one thing to say is people, and I'm definitely one of these people. You know, I started this process saying, yo, like, why do we even need like to do any research? Why do we even need to do any investigation? Like we already know what happened to us. Like, let's just get to the money. Like, let's just get to the okay. Here's the bag. And I still kind of feel that, but I also feel that I've learned. I've also changed in my thinking because of what I'm learning from this whole first year and from the first report. For example, I didn't know that in California there was more KKK hearings or KKK meetings in the 1920s than there were in Mississippi and in Louisiana. I didn't know that. I didn't know that not only was there slavery in California before there was a state of California, so here in this territory, there was slavery after California, here in California, after California entered the United States in 1849, 1850. But there was also slavery still going on here in California, probably almost a year or so after the Emancipation Proclamation. So think about that. It's 1863, 1864, whatever. The emancipation is out there. Says everybody's free. But we have a story from the first report, and that was actually reported in the Sacramento Bee actually last month, about a story about a young girl who was being trafficked and sold right here in Sacramento County. Right here in Sacramento County, being trafficked and sold in the early 1860s. So 1863, this is after the Emancipation Proclamation. I also didn't know that California was one of the states that didn't agree with the 14th Amendment or the 15th Amendment until the 1950s and 1960s. So think about that. The 14th Amendment happens in the late 1800s. That's the one that says everybody got to be equal. That's one of the after slavery Constitution amendments. So in the late 1800s, Congress says, "Yo, here's the 14th Amendment. Everybody got to be equal." And then they have the 15th Amendment, says something similar. California didn't say we agree with that until the 1950s and the 1960s. So there's a lot that I didn't know, and so part of me is now saying, "Yo, like, even though I want to get straight to the bag, but there's a lot that I didn't know. And I also didn't know about a lot of the stories that people have in their own personal life too, which has also come up in the first year of work. So that's a long way of saying there's a lot that we didn't know. And this is something that we have been learning specifically in the last month as the first report has come out. And the second thing that I would say that has been one of the biggest developments over the past month or so is the community listening sessions. So the California Reparations Taskforce, in addition to by law having to hold 10 public hearings, so the law that created the commission or task force says, hey, y'all have to hold 10 public hearings over two years. The commission said last year that, hey, that's not going to be enough. We need to do some community listening. We actually need to go into the community and actually listen to what people are saying. And so the commission or task force asked a bunch of community organizations. Our organization is one of those, CJEC, Coalition for Just and Equitable California. We are one of the 7 community organizations that the state commission asked to actually do community work. And so a lot of that work, most of the community listening work is happening this summer, over the last month and this month, and even a little bit into later on this month too. We actually have we have 3 listening sessions actually this month. We have one in Vallejo on the 20th. That's Saturday the 20th, from 5 to 7 p.m. So if you're in Vallejo and you're watching this, make sure you're out there in Vallejo on Saturday, August 20th, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. You can find the info on all of our social media at CJEC Official, and also on our website, cjecofficial.org. Then on Tuesday, August 23rd, we have a virtual listening session. So it's going to be online virtual. And that is from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Again, all the information is on our socials and on our website. And then one of the ones that I'm most excited about, because it's right here where I am, so I don't have to do much traveling, is the one here in Sacramento going on Saturday, August 27th in Oak Park at Cap City Oak Park, right there on Broadway, 3810 Broadway and MLK Boulevard. And that is from 2 to 4 p.m. So a lot of the community listening is going on. A lot of the community meetings are going on over the past month and this month. I think that's probably the second biggest development so far.
And that's dope, because it's interesting that you say learning all these new things, right? And I didn't know where you was gonna go with it when you mentioned learning new things about our history in California, in particular, when it comes to racism and all this shit. And it's horrible that sometimes when we learn new things about our country, about being Black in America, it's worse news. Like, damn, I didn't know they was doing that to me.
All of it to me is like, damn, yeah.
Because people's mind have the South as the most horrific place you can be when it comes to racism in the late 1800s, early 1900s. Most of the things I read say, no, wait. The North was crazy. Going through Chicago, going through the Midwest, going through these different places, that was hard for us too. We just have the South based on movies, based on how everything is projected. But in reality, man, this whole country wasn't fucking with us like that.
Right.
That's what we have to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's absolutely right. And that's one thing that I like about how the first report is set up. By the way, if you want to read the first report yourself, so if you got time, feel free to read the first report yourself. You can also go to our website, cjecofficial.org.